Very good. Hello, welcome everyone to our first of a two-part sustainability series webinar. I'm Kim Edwards. I'm one of the product managers here at Kemin Human Nutrition and Health. So we are glad you could join us today. The objective of this webinar is to be able to share Kemin's sustainability program and strategy, as well as be able to share with you the specific ingredient that we're going to use as an example, and that's our ingredient called beta-via, and it's made from algae for immune health. So that's the example that we're going to use. We know that through research that consumers will purchase those products that they align with, that are that follow their beliefs, that are similar. So one of my objectives today is to be able to share enough of that information so that hopefully you will feel more aligned, if you don't already, with Kemin and our sustainability beliefs and our programs. And then ultimately that you would recommend and formulate with our ingredients, whether that's in your supplements or your functional food and beverages. So that's really the crux of today. We'll have about 30 minutes to get that accomplished. I'm going to share our path of what we'll be talking about. And then I will also bring on Heather Christensen and Geoff Horst as we go through. But first, I'm going to set the stage and basically share a little bit about consumers and their beliefs about sustainability. And then Heather will answer three questions that we get pretty often, whether it's through our sales calls or through questionnaires from our customers. So she's going to handle Kemin's sustainability program at a higher level. And then we're going to dive a little bit deeper into our immune ingredient based on algae. And that again is called beta-via, and Geoff is going to be handling those questions. And then I'm going to open it up to all of you to be able to ask questions. So on your screen, you should have a question button that you can type those in. So at any point in time, go ahead and type in your questions. The panelists, Geoff and Heather and myself, will be looking at those as we go through the webinar today. So with that, I'd like to let you know that it is being recorded. We'll send this recording back out to all of you that have registered so that you can share it with a colleague. And then if we can't get to all of your questions today, we will follow up and make sure that we answer those. So I'll leave my information at the end, and if you type in your question, you can make it just to the panelist, or you can make it so that everybody has an opportunity to see that question. Okay? All right, so with that, I'd like to at least set the stage here and share from a July 2020 Euromonitor report titled From Sustainability to Purpose, New Values Driving Purpose-Led Innovation. And what this article and report is saying that consumers are aligning more with brands that not just only have quality products, but also align with their beliefs. And so really that was one of the cruxes of why we wanted to start sharing this information. So besides the traditional for-profit mission that companies have, consumers want to see companies focus also on the society, putting society first and our planet's needs first. And that also means being transparent. So we will be showing a little bit about our process in our immune ingredients so that you have a better feel for how simple it is and how sustainable it is. And then we'll also share a little bit more, like I said, about our company's sustainability. So this report also goes on to say that whether it's a business that's putting a product out on the market and they're looking for ingredients that are more sustainable, or whether it's a company that's producing a product and are looking to have a more sustainable process, this whole area of sustainability and transparency is critical. Even in a 2020 NBJ supplement business report, one of the macro trends is responsible sourcing. So ultimately, we believe, and it's Kemin's commitment, that by showing you and being transparent about our supply chain, that it will show our commitment to our employees, to our communities, and also to our customers. So that is the plan. And just to set the stage here, I'd like to take a quick poll first to see, is this how you believe? You know, do you have similar beliefs? So I'm going to launch the poll right now. And if you could take a moment and respond, does sustainability of a product or an ingredient impact your buying decision? And then I will share the results with you. As soon as I end it though, I want to try to get as many people as possible that are on. So I'm going to end the poll and share it with you. Here are the results. So the interesting information is that a good portion of you said yes, it does. You know, that does align the information in terms of by having a company that's sustainable, that you would be more willing to purchase their products and or ingredients. And then some of you are maybe you need some more information. So hopefully this reinforces for those that answered that yes, and for those that were maybe, after today's webinar, hopefully you'd be able to say yes in terms of Kemin's ingredients. Okay, so we're gonna move on then. And I wanted to share a little bit about Kemin because it really is the crux of who we are, is this sustainability. It's not anything new necessarily for Kemin, it's just that we're communicating it, I would say, a little bit better. So Kemin is just under 60 years old. It's still family owned and operated. On the upper left picture, that's one of the original groundbreaking pictures of Kemin. And then in the bottom left picture is RW and Mary in the middle. And then the second generation of the Nelson family is now also running the family. On the right-hand side is Chris Nelson, our president and CEO. And on the left-hand side of RW is Libby, and she is our general counsel and vice president. So the company has always been based in sound science and innovation. And as you can see, we have more than 500 patents. So this is really one of the core capabilities of Kemin. And we have over 2,300 employees in 90 countries, and our customers today, like I said, just under 60 years, are now in 120 countries. So when you look at our vision, and this is what I wanted to share, that our vision, and this was just updated this last year, but for those of you that might be listening on your phone, I'll just read it out as well. We strive to sustainably transform the quality of life every day for 80% of the world with our products and services. And so that's what I mean, that really our vision in every conference room that we go to here in the Kemin office, this is front and center. The vision is listed in our conference rooms and in what we do. And I believe you'll see that also in all of our press releases. So with that, I want to get started with Heather. And this is a common question that we get. And so Heather, I'm gonna let you have your picture on and take off your muting. There we go. And so let me share a little bit about Heather. She leads our sustainability program. She's a coordinator here, and she coordinates globally from all of our different Kemin locations and business units. So I thought, who better to bring on today than Heather? She holds her bachelor's degree in environmental science and biology, and for the last decade has been working in the biotech and plant science industry. So Heather, sustainability can mean different things to different people and at different times. So can you share with us, what does it mean to Kemin?
Sure, Kim. Thanks for having me today too. So there's a lot of definitions for sustainability. The one that we really focus on at Kemin is that we want to meet the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Now, that's really important for a family-owned and operated business like Kemin is. We have the goal now to improve the quality of life and for generations to come, and that's important as we do business, and it's important for the family too. So we look at 3 different pillars for sustainability: social, environmental, and business. This is known as the triple bottom line. So this also makes up our definition of sustainability. The well-being of our employees, our customers, and all the people that we serve globally are important and belong to this definition of sustainability, because we want to safeguard our planet's resources for these future generations.
Great, thank you. And I see that we have the healthy planet piece highlighted here, and the reason for that is, if I didn't mention it before, this first part of our sustainability webinar is focusing on the environmental aspect of sustainability. And our second webinar that you'll see a little bit more at the end of this session will be a month from now, but that'll be focusing more on the people aspect of sustainability. So thanks so much, Heather, for that. Let's go to our next question that we typically see from our customers' questionnaires. So what's our strategy? What are we doing about sustainability?
Sure. So really, it's important for us to not silo sustainability or keep it contained in a department. Really, it needs to be integrated throughout the organization to be able to have a company that sustainably transforms. So the strategy to do this, there's a lot of pieces to it. So first, we had to develop a formal sustainability program. And this is where we can measure our impact. We can communicate what that impact is and set and meet some goals. We do this through that framework, that triple bottom line that I spoke of and you mentioned too. So at Kemin, we know these as healthy people, healthy planet, and healthy business. So we have a sustainability scorecard where we look at all 3 components of that triple bottom line. Now we used 2019 as our measuring baseline. So we've continued to monitor our progress on this scorecard throughout 2020. And our next step will be in January of 2021, where we'll set some of those environmental targets and goals that we want. Now, it'll be important to focus on that environmental impact of our company. And this is where then the next step comes in, where we'll use sustainability initiatives and different programs to address those global challenges that we face and to meet some of those targets.
Okay. And is this scorecard used for all of our global locations then?
Yes, absolutely. So that's important for our program to have one sustainability global message, but then we also have different regional impacts and opportunities as well.
Okay, great. Thank you. So then one of our third questions that we get at or that we see quite a bit is what else is Kemin doing? Where do we have opportunities in our sustainability program?
Sure. So like you mentioned, Kemin's ambitious goal is to transform the quality of life for 80% of the world with our products and services, and to do that sustainably. So at the same time that we're doing that, we're also committing to improve our social and environmental footprint. So really the only viable solution is to do this sustainably. We look at our environmental impact across the globe. Like I said, we'll set baselines for each one of those areas and then prioritize some areas to focus on. We can do this and measure that through our scorecard. And some of the broad areas to begin with are like reducing waste, reducing our emissions, so that's our carbon footprint that we will look at that was on the scorecard. And also having a push toward natural processes and ingredients is very important to us. So true sustainability really encompasses all three of those dimensions of the triple bottom line. And we can look at business value in each one of these areas using that triple bottom line.
Great. Thank you. We appreciate that. And make sure, even though you turn your video off, that you don't go too far so that you can answer some questions, and feel free to look in the chat. So I encourage everybody to type in your questions for Heather, and she can pick one and answer it. And then Geoff, I see that you've joined us, so thanks so much. I appreciate that. I'm going to share a little bit of information about algae, and this is coming from the Quartz Journal, titled "Algae Might Be a Secret Weapon to Combat Climate Change." And within this particular article, there were several interesting pieces of information. That algae is an extremely sustainable organism. It's renewable, as well as an economic resource that we're really, as a world, and we're just starting to tap into this. And the more I learn about algae through Geoff and other team members, the more I believe that. This article indicates that the biomass may help reduce atmospheric carbon levels, as well as create new sources of renewable energy. Some algae, but not all, can be rich in protein, essential vitamins, and minerals, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, because the specific strain of algae that Kemin uses for beta via actually does. And it can be a new source of affordable and nutritious ingredients for foods to help alleviate food security. So that I thought was very interesting as well. In terms of commercialization, for those of you that are looking to formulate with algae, I'd share that from the Fact Mr. report titled "Algae Supplements Market Forecast" from April 2019, looked at trends from 2019 to 2027. And the functional ingredient market, algae surpassed 800 million in sales in 2018, and is forecasted to grow faster than a 7% compound annual growth rate through 2027. So algae is here to stay, and it's going to get bigger and bigger and more well known. Of course, it is in our Asia Pacific regions. We see lots of awareness, but in the North America area, it is just now becoming one that is more prevalent. And so we wanted to share that with you. So Geoff is on the phone with us to talk about at least questions that we get about beta via, this particular algae for immune health. Geoff is a marine biologist by education and training, starting out at the University of Michigan. Went on to do, or at least was looking at oceanography, which I just think is super interesting. And then went back to school at Michigan State to ultimately get his PhD in this biology area. So Geoff, welcome. Thank you. He still leads, or he is the leader of Kemin's R&D program that focuses on beta glucans and specifically for immune health. So Geoff, he was a co-founder of the world's first commercial scale producer of beta glucans from algae. So I am super proud to have him on our team. Since 2017, when Kemin purchased his company, Geoff came with us. So Geoff, thanks so much for participating today. Sure. So the first question that, that we get is, why should our customers care about this specific algae for immune health? What makes it so sustainable?
Sure, yeah, so and you've just heard you know, that people are changing their preferences for some of these ingredients. And certainly for people that are looking for immune health ingredients, they're gonna be certainly more in tune with where are these ingredients coming from. They wanna know the story behind them. If they can be plant-based, that's even better. And so algae actually provides a great opportunity to kind of check off some of those boxes, because because there's this tendency for people to associate plant-based or even algae, I'll group algae into that category of plant-based ingredients being certainly healthy from a healthy standpoint, but also a more sustainable source. And so sustainability and transparency are really core to all of Kemin's ingredients. And that's why a lot of Kemin's ingredients are actually derived from plants. But that's not to say that these molecules or these ingredients don't have science behind them. It's just that Kemin as a company has really focused on figuring out what molecules can nature make that are both efficacious but can be produced in a sustainable manner. And so this particular algae that we're using, which is called the Euglena gracilis, is exactly a perfect example of this. We're growing this particular algae for a specific benefit, which in this case is for immune health.
Great. I appreciate that. And really that's one of the key reasons why we chose Beta Via, made from algae, to really focus on that environmental sustainable example. It's really a perfect one for a plant-like ingredient. Then one of the next questions we get, and I'm going to use quotes here, how green is this algae ingredient for immune health?
Sure. So if you advance to the next slide, it kind of gives a little bit of the process for how we're making it. So while this process is certainly considered green from a sustainability standpoint, the actual material is actually a golden color. And that's because the way that we're growing this algae is in fermentation tanks. And so this is a little bit of the process of how we make it. So we have a pure strain of this proprietary strain of Euglena gracilis. We put a few of those cells into these sterile fermentation tanks. You can kind of see them in the background of this image. If you walked into our facility, it would look a lot like a brewery or a pharmaceutical plant where they're doing fermentation. So the algae are then grown on food grade resources. So we feed them nutrients and sugars, which are derived from plants. And those are the main nutrients that help the algae grow up. And we can grow them at a very high density and at very fast rates in these fermentation tanks. We then harvest out a portion of that tank every day, and we send those cells to a process where we basically squeeze them into a paste, and then we pass that through a pasteurization process, and then we dry it with a simple process without any extra additives to it. And so really this is about as clean of a process as you can possibly get. And then it's packaged up. And so this product, it's also highly consistent. So since we're growing it in these fermentation tanks, every day it produces the same quality of material as the last day. And so when you get a lot of material in March, it's going to look exactly the same as it does in September or October.
So this is a vertical supply chain that we control. We can scale up and scale back. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, so this is using no byproducts. And so we purposely grow this algae only for making beta glucan. So a lot of other ingredients might be using other waste streams or side streams, but this particular ingredient, we actually grow the algae only for the purpose of making the immune molecule.
Okay. So that's, I have to tell you, sometimes when a process is so simple, it can be even tougher to get my head around than when it's not. So this was really a great example of where we're conserving water and energy and have the capability to produce an ingredient that has so many benefits, especially to immune health.
Right.
So let's go to our third question. And this was a perfect segue. Why is it so important? Why is algae so important for immune health?
Sure. So you'll see algae being used across a wide variety of different uses. And so Kim just shared that there's now almost $1 billion worth of algae sales. And those algae ingredients are targeting lots of different areas. And so maybe you're taking some omega-3 supplements that might be derived from algae. In this particular case, we're growing this algae, Euglena gracilis. And so on the next slide, I think I've got some of the main components of it.
Yep.
We're growing it specifically for the beta glucan content. And so this is a molecule that's been studied for decades, really. and hundreds or even thousands of research papers have looked at beta-glucan as this immune modulating molecule. And so it's a very potent molecule and it has a very defined mode of action. But what we did was we found that this species of algae is really the world's best producer of beta-glucan. So over half of the algae's body weight is this beta-glucan molecule. And so that's why we're growing this species. But while the molecule and the beta-via ingredient is targeting beta-glucan as the primary ingredient, there are also the other components of algae which are also beneficial, and maybe some of your customers will place some value on it. So there's still the protein content, of course. There's very small amounts of omega-3 fatty acids. It's also a rich source of other vitamins and minerals. And so in that way, it's kind of considered like a superfood. We're not marketing it solely for the superfood benefits, but really the beta-glucan is the main molecule here that has the decades of research behind it.
That's great. Thank you. So I want to give an opportunity to get to some of the questions out there. And here they are. This is wonderful. Thank you, everybody, for typing in all your questions. Like I said, there's no way probably in the next 5 minutes I can get to all of them, but let's go ahead and get started here. Geoff, there's one here for you. It says, I thought that algae were supposed to grow in sunlight. Why is yours grown in fermenters?
Sure. Yep, that's a great question. We get it all the time. So this particular algae can grow outdoors. And so if you grew it outdoors, it would have a more green color. But the reason we're growing it indoors is for a variety of reasons. One is that we can have that in a very controlled environment. And so for a human health ingredient, you really want to make sure that you have all the controls in place to prevent contamination or other potentially harmful chemicals from getting into your process. And by doing it in a fermenter, we can keep it a very sterile and consistent production. But also from a sustainability standpoint, it's actually more energy efficient and also more water efficient to grow it in these dense fermentation tanks. And so compared to growing outdoors, we actually save a lot on water and a lot on energy costs.
Great. All right, we're going to get to another one here. It says, can other algae species make beta-glucans?
So there's a few other species that can make it. They're all in the same family of algae called Euglena. And so other algae that you might be eating like spirulina or chlorella, they're not going to be able to make beta-glucan. So it's really only a select few species that can make it. And we were the first ones to actually make it in fermentation tanks for the purpose of beta-glucan production.
Yep, that's a great story as well as a great process. I think we have time here for another question. Let's see here, scroll down. It says, is your algae GMO?
Another great question. So no, it is not a GMO. So this is a naturally derived strain. We've had it under our cultivation for almost 10 years now. And so it's certainly adapted to our conditions, and we have it placed in a patent bank. It's not a patentable strain, but we have this unique strain identification for our strain that we keep, but it is not a GMO species. So I know that's important for many of our end consumers that are concerned about GMO issues.
Absolutely. So with that, I'm just going to make sure that anybody else who has, I see there are more questions in here, we will get to you, not necessarily live, but we will respond to your questions. I want to just set the stage for the next sustainability event, and that will be in about a month from now. And we will be focusing on the social sustainability aspect of Kemin, and the ingredient that we've chosen to talk about is pneumatics from our sustainably grown and certified spearmint. So we have Lauren Burt, head of our worldwide communications, and Dr. John Greaves joining us for that conversation. So tune in and contact me in between if you have any other questions. And thank you so much for joining us.